You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
6'3", 218 pounds. That's a pretty big quarterback to get you.
I'm 5'8", 213. So
grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Punters are people, too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted. It is! And it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are a part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Travis Currah, Brazilian Ty, thanks for showing up.
you're such an ass.
Now, I wanted to start off with a mailbag question.
Okay.
And, well, there are a lot of questions. And Michael Walker sent an email here, twoandoutcfl@gmail.com. You can go to the website, twoandout.ca, and submit a question on there. So maybe try to keep the reactions, maybe one or two words. They're all very tongue-in-cheek. A lot of it is overreaction theater to week one, but that's the stuff that CFL fans love to do. So let's do this. Question 1, is Vernon Adams going to be Jekyll and Hyde forever?
Yes.
Is Bo Levi Mitchell now officially fragile?
Fragile.
Is that a yes, too?
Yeah, must be Italian. Yes.
Is Hamilton already experiencing seller's remorse?
No.
Is it too early to call for Zach Collaros to be traded and Drew Brown installed as the starter in Winnipeg?
What?
Hey, leader of that game-winning drive last week against Ottawa.
Yes, it's too early.
Who told Nick Arbuckle that headband on his head was acceptable?
His mom.
How much is James Wilder Jr.'s game diminished by being forced to wear a minimally acceptable jersey? Are his abs his superpower?
I don't have any, so I wouldn't know.
59 points rung up on a Chris Jones defense. Sweet or sweetest?
Too sweet.
Man, that sums up week one better than I ever could have. That's awesome. And that might be one of the best emails the show's ever received.
That was one email?
Yes.
Unreal.
Michael Walker, thanks for taking out the time to send in that email to Two and Out. With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, the Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to Book Women. It is a podcast about editing, publishing, and writing Indigenous stories. 3 Métis librarians representing nations from across the homeland aim to inspire Indigenous peoples to share their stories in whatever form that they enjoy. Guests include Indigenous storytellers from diverse mediums like podcasting, burlesque, books, comics, social media, films, music, and everything in between. You can listen and find out more at bookwomenpodcast.ca.
In the Huddle with Currah and Ty on the Two and Out podcast.
I know the BC Lions are on bye, but we can't really just have a show and not talk about what happened in Vancouver last week. And it started off the field. Over 30,000 fans in BC Place. It's been a while since we've seen that. Clearly the team fed off of it. I mean, Nathan Rourke, James Butler. Oh, what a performance all around. And I think that Toronto and Montreal should look to Vancouver and get some energy going in those buildings too.
You know what? I think a lot of that, like in lead or ownership change, they made it a point to try to get butts in seats, and they got One Republic, which to me I did not enjoy that one bit. But it was terrible. but there are people that do. And, if that's what it takes to get people in the door and, and then they put up a game like that, those people might come back. It's a foot in the door and you go from there.
Yeah, they just made a point to make it in an event before the game, during the game, after the game. I mean, and it doesn't help when your team's putting that much points on the field. That secondary was all over Edmonton, making them turn the ball over. Well, nothing went right for Edmonton. Sione Tehema. I think I got the name right. CFL debut, 3 sacks, the last BC Lion to do that in their CFL debut. Cameron Wake.
Yeah, and look where he is.
He's got a lot to
where he
live
went
up to. Yeah, exactly. The Grey Cup is now 90% sold in Regina, so it just seems like all of this off the field excitement about a normal season is really picking up. And I mean, that's why the Grey Cup on the Prairies is always fun, and you got to sell the tickets in June before people realize what the weather was going to be like in 5 months.
It's the same thing that people forget. It's like in October when it snows the first time, nobody knows what you're doing.
Yeah. It's June. Grey Cup's going to be nice weather.
Inflation be down. We've sold 90% of the tickets.
Let's talk about week 2.
Join 2 and Out for CFL Fantasy and CFL Pick'em and show Currah and Ty what you got.
They are who we thought they were.
Just click cflfantasy.tsn.ca.
Enough of talking about it. There has to be consequences.
And pick'em.cfl.ca.
The Montreal Alouettes are underdogs, 3-point underdogs, as they go to Toronto. The Argos coming off the dreaded week 1 bye. But now it's almost like the pressure's all on Montreal, with the owner, Gary Stern, saying that the Owls are going to kill the Argos. Now, he walked it back. Well, he basically said that was probably not a good word to use.
That was the issue?
But, man, I think we should get more mics in front of owners, because that has people fired up for this Argos and Owls game.
Yeah. Anytime you put a microphone in the hands of a man with last name Khan, it always comes out well. Any owner, like, they are not so much. They're not as trained in the media ways as players are. You see that in the NHL, especially too.
100%.
Nothing but cliches, pucks in deep.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. These guys going off the cuff. Should he have said kill? No. Are they going to beat the Argos? No. Does he have to say that? Absolutely.
Hey, I think it's great. It gets people talking.
You can't say, well, it's week 2, we're going to go in there, we're going to get our asses handed to us. Man, what was everybody expecting him to say?
I know it's week 1, but this is a pretty good big game, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The Owls, they don't want to start the season 0-2, and I know the RedBlacks are in tough again, playing Winnipeg, and I got to assume Winnipeg's going to be better. At least they're playing at home, so that helps them out a little bit. But wait, the Ticats getting a loss.
Hamilton doesn't look like the Hamilton of the last 4 or 5 years.
So what team's going to try to get a head start and get a good start here in the Eastern Division? Montreal doesn't want to go down 0-2. Toronto,
there could be 3 teams. There could be 3 teams in the East at 0-2.
That's true.
The end of this week.
Yeah. And there's all of these veteran players on Toronto, and Andrew Harris, Brandon Banks. You have to assume that window is kind of small for the Argos. They don't have, they've got young talent there. Not going to write off some of the younger players that are in Toronto, but the main core of that team is very veteran heavy, and they lost one home game in 2021, but that was during I'll say regular season, because they lost the East Final. That one home game they lost was during that Edmonton Elks 3 games and whatever it was.
3 games in 2 nights, basically.
Yeah, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And the Owls come out losing one of their marquee players last week. William Stanback is on the 6-game injured list with a fractured ankle. Kahari Jones is just hoping that he'll be able to play. Jeshron Antwi came in last week. He had a 70-yard run, the longest rush in the CFL since Stanback had a 72-yarder in 2018. So I thought Antwi ran well. I don't know if he's the long-term solution in Montreal, depending on how long Stanback is going to be out. So the Owls have acquired running back Walter Fletcher from the Elks. I think a 6th-round draft pick included there as well. I saw some good things from Fletcher with the Elks, but for now, fantasy team, $4,500 Antwi, I got to line him up in my lineup.
And he's going to be getting the bulk of the carries. Their only other backs are listed as fullbacks on the depth chart.
Yeah.
I mean, those aren't guys that are going to be carrying the ball, 10, 15 times for you. Antwi will.
How patient is Montreal going to be with Vernon Adams? Is it just a media thing where they're creating this Trevor Harris narrative? He's waiting in the wings for the Owls?
I think that part is kind of media
noise.
Crap.
Yeah.
Media noise. Just because I don't think he's there to hope for failure. He's not waiting in the wings. He's available. He's a team guy. He's not, if they need him to go in, he'll be ready.
Yeah.
And I think the leash, how good do you think your team is where you can overcome starting 0-2? Because Hamilton, yes, has come back. Toronto, I guess we'll wait and see. Or it looks like Hamilton's come back. Everybody's on them to vastly improve. You go down 0-2. Yeah, there could be 3 other teams, but you got to fight with those teams to stay alive, and that just makes those games even more important than they already were.
Yeah, of course, 0-2, not the biggest deal in an 18-game schedule, but you don't want these games in June. We forget about them come October, but they all count in the standings the exact same way. Mm-hmm. The Argos actually come into this week. They're pretty banged up. Even though they
I had to change my lineup,
even though they came off of a bye week here, receivers Juwan Breskison, Dejon Brissett, Eric Rogers not going to play. Looks like Breskison's not going to play. Peter Nicastro on the offensive line is hurt. A defensive back Jamal Peters hasn't practiced this week. They're just banged up right now. Now, last week I saw a stat. I think it's from the fellows from the X's and Argos podcast that in games that Eric Rogers missed last year, Devaris Daniels had something like 14 catches and 148 yards over 2 games. Mm-hmm. Maybe McLeod Bethel Thompson will be looking his way a little bit more often this week. But McLeod Bethel Thompson, to me, has the best value as far as fantasy quarterbacks go.
I think that's pretty fair considering, his matchup. Montreal didn't look very good. He is averaging 18.9 points per start against the Owls.
Against the Owls.
Or against the Owls, sorry. And he's, just over...
He's not even 10,000.
Yeah. He's just over $9,400. He doesn't have some of those big weapons, but Curly Gittens Jr. is in the lineup, Devaris Daniels in the lineup, like you mentioned. There are weapons there for him to use.
Hey, there is Brandon Banks and there is Andrew Harris as well. So I think Toronto's going to be running the ball a little bit. Now, one player I currently have in my lineup, it seems like the Argos are high on him, is receiver Cam Phillips. He's only $2,500. He got into 1 game last year. He had 2 catches for 20 yards, but he's listed as a starter on the depth chart. Hey, it's one of those lottery tickets. It could pay off, but I've got him matched up with Macbeth.
It's like last week with my Nathan Rourke pick.
Yeah, and you crushed it.
Speaking of the lottery ticket.
If you had Butler and Rourke and nobody else, actually, if you only had Rourke, you probably beat my lineup.
Can confirm.
There you go. 7-11 Thursday night football. Argos and Owls. Give me those. See, you got a Slurpee cup, WWE style. I would buy 9 Slurpees just to get 9 CFL cups in my place.
Because you ain't booty.
Yeah. It is a New Day cup if you did not get that reference. I think this is going to be a pretty good rematch here in the nation's capital.
I don't think so.
Friday night football. The Bombers are 2.5-point favorites. Over-under is at 45 here. Take the over?
And the cover.
Wow. Okay, so were you surprised as I was in week 1? It just seemed like Ottawa matched Winnipeg's physicality right from the get-go. Yeah. Winnipeg couldn't run the ball at all. What was it? Brady Oliveira had 10 carries for 17 yards?
It was not good, yeah. I don't think I'm surprised they matched the physicality. I think I'm more surprised that Winnipeg didn't, execute as well as we've seen them execute.
Well, and I mean, they're basically one drop pass from friend of the show, Jalen Acklin, having the RedBlacks going into Winnipeg and spoiling the banner raising party.
I mean, that would have been unreal too. And I think we could have taken full credit for that.
But we'll take full credit for the drop pass as well. It's not on him.
Oh yeah, it's a 2-0 curse.
As far as the Bombers go, Zach Collaros looks good to go. He had a shot to the head in that one. The worry that Collaros has.
One hit away.
Yeah. And it feels like he doesn't get hit in Winnipeg because of that offensive line. But when you run down the field and you dive head first, that happens. Yeah. The Bomber defensive line is going to be welcoming back Jackson Jeffcoat. Winston Rose is expected to play in Ottawa as well. One note here, Dakota Prukop has hit the 6-game injured list for the Bombers. They have brought in Joe Mancuso, so maybe he becomes their short yardage guy. It looked like they were excited to get Prukop in there for some of the short yardage situations because that guy can run the ball and he can move it outside the line. So him hitting the 6th game might change things a little bit for the Bombers.
Yeah, I think that gave them kind of like with Strevler where, you could line him up behind center and, get that sneak for that first down. Well, now defenses have to account for that. Scramble outside the pocket and maybe even a pass or, he's able to scramble 5-6 yards. That probably changes their third down strategy now. Bringing in a guy, I don't think I've ever even seen his name on a game sheet. I don't know about you.
No.
So, okay, I'm not crazy.
No.
If it's a guy that's going to come in and he's just going to be, what we saw, what we see your typical second, third string quarterback who's in on a short yardage do, then it is what it is. Get that new set of downs and move on. But yeah, I think Prukop over the 6 games, at least that we're going to, or, over the games they're going to miss him, I think you'll notice a difference. Just because I know it's a new set down. It's only 5 yards, but I mean, that 5 yards gets you that much closer into field goal range when it comes into crunch time.
Well, yeah, we see that with the 3 quarterbacks being allowed on the field again, right? Because Drew Brown is their backup quarterback.
There's one team who hasn't dressed 3 quarterbacks, and you guess who it is?
Who is it?
Saskatchewan.
Oh,
they dressed 2
because they let if it's smart or not. Fajardo is one of the only quarterbacks they leave in there for the short yardage stuff, right? They let him, and I think that's the way he wants it. But you see the Bombers.
At some point, you got to protect players from themselves.
Yeah. Drew Brown in Winnipeg, he's the backup guy, but not really the short yardage guy. This Mancuso, University of Richmond, not sure if he's going to be playing in Ottawa, but 6'3", 218 pounds. That's That's a pretty big quarterback to get you.
I'm
the yards you
5'8",
need.
213. So
I love it. So Winnipeg couldn't run the ball last week. Neither could Ottawa, really, and that's not a surprise because of the Bombers' front there. And, of course, they're bringing in Jackson Jeffcoat. He's healthy again. But still no William Powell for the RedBlacks. Devontae Williams had the start last week, 3.7 yards per carry. I'd probably stay away from that one if I'm building a fantasy lineup.
yeah, not a great option whenever you're going up against the Blue Bombers, and especially when your guys are improving. I mean, if William Powell's in that lineup, it's probably a little bit better for Ottawa. But I mean, nobody's putting up big numbers against this team that hasn't, gotten regular time. Like Devontae Williams, 4.4, Jackson Bennett, 3.4, Anthony Gosselin, 2.2 in games against Winnipeg. Like I'm staying so far away from Ottawa until they prove to me they can do something.
I think it's going to be another close one, though, man. At home in Ottawa, I mean, do the Bombers come into this game angry about letting them stick around because we're almost, I think, deja vu a little bit with Winnipeg. I don't think they want to let it go to last second kicks. No. Last year, they brought in Sergio Castillo, and that basically clinched the Grey Cup for them. I don't think Mike O'Shea. Does any team want to win football games like that? Yeah. Mike O'Shea will say he's got all the confidence in the world in his kickers, but I don't know if that's the...
Unless it's, Sebastian Gostkowski, Adam Vinatieri, Mike Vanderjack.
Come on,
Louis Bissaga, Paul McCallum to a point.
Yeah, other than the manure incident.
Yeah, Rene Paredes.
Other than last year's West Semi. Sorry, Stamps fans.
Yeah. Don't piss on my neck and tell me it's raining. Like, no coach has the utmost confidence in the kicking game.
But there you go. All the greats announced have had incidents where it didn't go so well. We've got Calgary in Hamilton, where the Ticats are 1-point favorites, over under at 45. I think this is another tough one. The two Hall of Fame classes from the past couple of years are going to be inducted at this one. So there's going to be 13 new members welcomed into the Hall of Fame.
Halftime should be short.
Yeah. Nick Lewis is included in there. Marv Levy, Henry Burris, Freddie Childress, John Huffnagel. I guess it's convenient because he's in Hamilton.
It's almost like they planned it this way.
Almost like they planned it that way. I think Ticat fans are probably worried after week one. And I think that the Stampeders' defensive line is probably licking their chops after watching what the Rider D-line did.
I would think so. I would hope so. You have an opportunity to put up some ungodly numbers against this offensive line right now. It just seems like Dane Evans is not making decisions as quick as he did. Not so much last year, but when he came in 2019 for Mazzoli, when he took over after the injury, like the ball, he wasn't spending a lot of time. Reads were quick, ball was out of his hand. It just seems, I don't know. Ottawa's gone through some losses on that offensive side of the ball as well. They don't have a running game. They refuse to run the ball still. That's not helping matters. That offensive line, I mean, over the last couple of years, it's been good. Just didn't play well in week one, and Dan Evans ultimately paid the price in the pocket.
Simone Lawrence a little bit lighter in the wallet after last week. That one's not a surprise. I just thought that one was a bit silly. It's the way it goes, but that's how Simone plays, whistle to whistle. He's loved by fans in Hamilton and hated by fans of 8 other teams. That's
not
that's
all
the way
fans.
it goes. Yeah, not all the fans. You're right.
I'm the president of 2 fan clubs.
Simone got you suspended from this show.
But he might again.
Hey, there were a few other suspensions as well, but Simone, we'll give him the headline. Yeah, fines. We'll give Simone the headlines this week. As far as the Stamps go, is what's the bow leash look like? And it felt like all the talk this offseason was Bo's coming in healthy, the shoulder's feeling good, and he was dealing with other injuries.
And then he's in a walking boot after week 1.
Yeah. So that didn't last all that long of a healthy Bo Levi Mitchell, and this always happens in the CFL. There's a backup that comes in, does well. Well, look at Nick Arbuckle. He came in and he did well for Calgary. Now he's been on 3 teams since then. And
Jake Mayer last year.
Yeah, exactly. Now Jake Mayer, they found a way to keep him in Calgary. I mean, is this a Nathan Rourke situation where Bo, he starts here in Calgary and then next year they make the choice? I don't know what it is. I think, well, if you listen to Dave Dickinson, he really seems like he's hard on his quarterback, and he played the position, so I think he expects a lot there. But if Bo continues to struggle, I don't think
how much of his struggles are not because of his skill, but just because of nagging injuries.
Yeah, that's what I think it all is. That's probably what it all is.
So if he comes in at 100% and plays well, I don't think there's a discussion. But if those nagging injuries and they keep nagging at him, teams gets healthy from one thing and it's another, and he can't play up to that level, you want to pay this guy?
Yeah.
What is it, north of $300,000?
Yeah.
When you can take that money, spend it elsewhere, surround Jake Mayer with a team for 2 or 3 years and make a run.
He's still only 32 years old, Bo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he's played a lot of football in those 32.
He has.
Or not 32, but in his career.
Yeah.
And it does take a toll. I mean, one thing leads to another, it seems, with him right now. He could come in, be fine, not get hit this week, and go on a roll. I'm not saying that, the injuries are just he's done. It's just right now it's not a good look. We knew his shoulder was screwed up last year. Comes in completely rested and healthy, and now it's just another thing, completely unrelated.
Yeah.
It's not a shoulder, it's not an arm injury, it's a foot. So foot or ankle or whatever it was, but it just looks bad. I think the leash will be short-ish if it's not an injury.
That's true. Yeah.
But I think if he gets a little banged up, they're not going to hesitate to put Mayer in to save Bo.
I almost thought it was a pretty different Bo pretty early in the game last week. He had a 9-yard run.
Yeah.
His long all of last year was 11. In 2019, the longest carry for Bo Mitchell, 4 yards.
I can't even chip 4 yards right now. I can't do it.
What I really like what the Stampeders were doing, now Malik Henry is banged up right now, but they like to get him involved in that offense. And
get him the ball.
Yeah, he's flying all over the place, and I think he's a bit of an underrated and under the radar guy for the rest of this season. If he's in there, man, they're putting him all over the field, and he's a fun guy to watch with the Stamps.
Yeah, and in his career, he's only averaging 9 points, but hasn't been the focus or the central idea of that offense in Calgary. I don't know if that's necessarily changing when you still have guys like Sindani and Kamar Jordan and Reggie Bagleton. But we've said this time and time again, when you have that depth at receiver, it opens up opportunities for guys to get better matchups that are further down the depth chart, and that's a huge advantage for a guy like him. And he's got the ability.
Yeah. And that kind of stood out to me last week in the Montreal game, where everybody is looking for Kamar Jordan and Reggie Bagleton. And then really...
Who led that game in receiving?
Yeah, it was your boy, Richie Sindani. 101 yards.
Had a lot of great picks on it. Not going to lie.
Second was Malik Henry.
Yep.
But Reggie Bagleton only had 2 catches for 23 yards. Colton Hunchak had 2 catches. Kamar had 4 for 35. Like, they're spreading the ball all over the place. They want to get the ball in Sean Bain's hands as well. But that's sort of been the thing with Calgary over the last little while.
Yeah, it's a pick your poison.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're on the other side of the ball, okay, who do you not want to beat you today? Because whoever you pick, somebody else would just do it.
I want to see what the Stamps are going to do. I do think that Kadeem Carey, one of the most talented running backs, maybe the best running back in the CFL right now, but running against Hamilton is not... It doesn't...
Not super easy.
With those defensive tackles, when Ted Laurent is a rotational guy... saying that actually just sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's like saying Draisaitl's on the second line today.
That's true. That's a great thing. And Saskatchewan was not able to run the ball against Hamilton at all. And, I get that, hey, completely different teams. They're built completely different ways, but this is going to be a tough game. Again, you said we could have several Eastern teams at 0-2. So this is also a big game for the Ticats. They can't get dominated on the line of scrimmage like they did last week.
No, if you're going to give up 100 sacks, you're not going to win a football game.
Yeah.
That game at halftime last week for Hamilton, I don't know if you view it as a huge success.
Right.
But that first half didn't lose them the football game. They were down 3 at halftime.
Yeah.
It was a knock 'em out, drag 'em out absolute battle, and then in the second half
fell apart.
That line matchup in offensive defensive lines, Hamilton didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
And that's what lost them the game.
Calgary's got an underrated defensive line, I think. I mean, Mike Rose there, and you got Arimalad and Wiggin, and, man, Adeyemi Berglund. Some great names on the defensive line in Calgary, but it's the way they work as a unit.
Yeah.
And they're all over you. Stephen Dunbar had a big game for the Ticats last week. He had a 71-yard touchdown. Well, he only had the 2 catches for 75 yards, but they all count the same way.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Moxey is banged up right now for the Stampeders, so maybe the Ticats are going to try and target that side of the field, but the Stamps do have depth, I think, in that defensive backfield as well.
Especially
Jackson
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Don Jackson was limited on Tuesday for the Ticats, but as you said, they don't run the ball anyway.
How was he limited? He only had the ball 5 times? How is he banged up?
Let's go to Edmonton, the final game of week 2, where the Riders are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under at 50.5. Hey,
Saskatchewan might hit that on their own. Or is that not where you were going?
Not where I was going. Full disclosure, as a Rider fan, I've been here before. Going to Commonwealth Stadium as the heavy favorite.
Lose by 2 touchdowns. Because Deron Carter's playing DB.
Yeah. So I have zero hopes for this one. But I would hate to be an Elks at least defender at practice this past week.
Oh my God.
The tackling, that stood out to me. Like so tackling? Many missed tackles.
What tackling? That if Chris Jones could have cut the entire defensive side of the ball,
I think he would have.
He would have.
I'm
surprised that we haven't seen they traded Fletcher and he actually got a pick for me. He didn't just release him. Didn't pull Chris Jones. Actually got something for a guy. What would football's version of a bag skate be? Because is that a 4-hour practice with no balls?
Oh, that was a rough one.
It's too bad there's no track at Commonwealth anymore. Because I know what I'd be making them do.
Yeah. And I guess the depth in the defensive backfield you were referencing in Calgary was Trumaine Washington, former Edmonton Elk, now in Calgary after getting cut by Ottawa. It does look like maybe some regulars will be back this weekend for the Elks, including Toby Antiga, who has had success in the Chris Jones system before, defensive back Nafis Lyon. But the
who would have thought that Aaron Grimes would be that big of a loss for the Elks?
I mean, Nick Arbuckle and Trey Ford, they were kind of running all over the place as well. So if the Rider
the offense did the defense no favors.
If the Rider defensive line plays anything like they did against Hamilton, it's going to be a long day again for Edmonton.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a long day for anybody if defense plays like that. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? I mean, I thought Hamilton was a much better team than Edmonton, so I mean, I could see it happening. That being said, with how bad Edmonton got beat up, I don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row.
For the Riders, I was just so, and I think we knew it coming in, so impressed by that linebacking core. Like Larry Dean, Derek Moncrief, and Darnell Sankey.
How is that even fair?
They're flying all over the place.
Yeah. And
I don't know if it's those hash marks, but they've got real athletes in the linebacking core that can.
Well, and now that's what you need, though.
Yeah.
You need guys that can, that's an extra 8 yards.
So a lot of credit needs to, I think, go to Jason Shivers. I don't know if he's gotten enough over the last little while because a lot of people were worried about what that Rider defense was going to look like when.
I'm more worried about the offensive coordinator than I am the defensive coordinator.
Then when Jones took off to Cleveland, there's really been not much of a drop-off with the Rough Rider defense. So credit to Shivers, who was under Chris Jones for a while, and now they meet each other in this one. But there were 2 big-name receivers, one for each team that left practice early on Wednesday. One included Duke Williams, rolled an ankle. He tried to come back to practice, but then left. Darrell Walker for Edmonton also left practice early on Wednesday. Well, that remains to be seen. We've got a ways to go until Saturday. I mean, it's only week 2, so if this is when they need to sit out here,
I'd rather him sit out week 2
and
have this nag, and then week 6 he needs surgery because it makes it worse for either one of them. Really.
Duke Williams has just been such a big addition to that Rough Rider offense. They look completely different. Even Shaq Evans was into the action last week as well too. I think he'll like and hope that Duke's on the field on Saturday and Duke will want to get up there. Yeah, and play his old team.
100%. I am just surprised. I think the most surprising thing is having Duke in that lineup on Saturday was that he didn't get flagged. with a 2-point convert. Like that was straight out of Key and Peele, man.
Oh, so I watched that Key and Schaefer Baker. I watched the game late. I was on vacation. And Schaefer Baker, while they're, haven't announced the penalty flag yet, runs into Pill Nation. And then Duke, was that the 2-point convert?
2-point convert, yeah. Straight out of Key and Peele, man. That's McCringleberry right there.
Makes love to the turf.
Yeah, makes love.
And then TSN replayed it in slow motion. And then botches the gymnast move. Like, look, I would have...
The gizmo.
Yeah, I would have broken my neck if I tried that, but...
Can you do a cartwheel?
I've never pulled one off, I can tell you that. And I don't want to start now.
Not now. August 24th.
That ship has sailed, dude. Yeah. I got a back surgery coming up in August. And
sounds like time off for the pod.
Hey, that's more time to podcast.
No, you'll be so high on painkillers.
Record.
Yeah. And like I said, $100 a pill if you don't take them.
Week 2, man, I'm amped up for this. This is going to be a good week. The CFL Podcast Fantasy League. I lost. You won. Now we're on to week
handily.
2. Yeah.
Did you set a full lineup?
I did.
Oh, and who would you have that didn't get targets? For those who don't know, I hate it when people don't start defenses.
Well, I wasn't. I started the Elks defense. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, you might as well start with. So in our league this year, which Travis said I would play in, which I never agreed to, but I'm doing it now anyway. He said Ty and I are in. I thought it just meant okay, we're doing it as the podcast.
Well, you set up a lineup anyway, so what's the difference?
It's $20. I got a mortgage. But if you don't set a full lineup, not just a defense, if you put a defense in and not fill out the rest of your lineup, you automatically forfeit. So this week Ryan played Travis, and they each had a guy that didn't get targets. So I'm like, well, they both forfeit because it doesn't show up on our end.
This was before I went on holidays. I put Martese Jackson as my flex, and Jalen Marshall ended up being the return guy for Edmonton. So, and then I had the Elks defense,
which got you
-4.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But then I'm never going to regret having Reggie Bagleton and Lucky Whitehead both in my lineup, and they had a combined 22.1 points.
I don't know what to tell you.
See, I'd pick those guys again. I mean, but then I also picked Johnny Augustine because I had hope that he would get more of the carries than Oliveira, and he got 1 point. So,
well, Oliveira got what, 6.7?
Yeah. There's my week 1. I've got Safamod from the Piffles podcast. You've got Ryan from the Canadian Football Countdown this week.
Oh, not the other Ryan.
Not the Stampeder Ryan.
Yeah.
What's your lineup looking like?
So McLeod Bethel-Thompson, who we talked about, Jamal Morrow, because he's going to get carries. He's the Riders' number 1 return guy as well. James Wilder Jr., Curly Gittins Jr. I had Eric Rogers, had to change it up. Sticking with Sindani, dance with the girl that brought you. Janarion Grant in my flex, and the Calgary D.
All right, so right now I've got Bethel Thompson, Jamal Morrow, Jeshrin Antwi. Well, I might have to change most of my lineup. Duke Williams, we'll see. Malik Henry, we'll see. Cameron Phillips, that's my boy. That's my ride or die.
Your $2,500 ride or die.
All season. I'm picking him all season.
He's the new Braden Lenius.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are you picking to win the games this week?
I am going Argos, Bombers, Stamps, Riders.
Man. Okay. Argos. Yep. I am going to, take Winnipeg.
Yeah.
You can't still hate on Ottawa.
I'm not hating on Ottawa. I just want everybody to get off there.
This is not your older brother's. No, it was only 6 months ago.
Yeah. What are you talking about there?
Winnipeg, Calgary, Sask. I'll copy you because being my own person hasn't been working out for me lately. This episode of Two and Out brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Life as a business owner can be hectic, to say the least. Alberta Blue Cross understands that. They offer flexible health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees. Even better, you can let your staff enroll and manage their coverage at any time and on any device. That makes life easier for them and for you. You've got this when it comes to group coverage for your small business, and Alberta Blue Cross has your back. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. All right, we are in week 2. It is unconventional. We always have been unconventional on Two and Out. Should we reveal our rest of season predictions?
Absolutely.
So MOP, Nathan Rourke.
Yep.
MOC, Nathan Rourke.
Yep.
Grey Cup, BC Lions.
Yep. BC and Ottawa, obviously.
Can Nathan Rourke return kicks or kick?
Well, if they're going to let Americans win most outside of Canadian, I don't see why quarterback can't win special teams.
Can he tackle?
Okay, that might be the one he doesn't get.
Most outstanding defensive player, Duron Carter. Ty did the old Dave Hodge pen flip and just... I guess this is how this podcast is run now.
Yeah. And that means I'm off next week, right? But no, seriously though, like Rourke will probably win MOC unless Andrew Harris has... I think it's going to be Harris and Rourke.
Yeah, that's a good call. MOC, like I can't see it.
Different divisions.
I can't see it being anybody other than Nathan Rourke for the next 10 years.
Yeah, if he can start and be a decent quarterback. Is he eligible for rookie? Probably not. I
don't think so.
He dressed for enough games and whatever whole crap I got to go through. MOP. Man,
this is wide open. Even though we had 1 week, it doesn't matter. My MOP pick, I think I'm going to go with Lucky Whitehead.
Fajardo?
Yeah,
I just don't see the East being like Hamilton's not running away with it, and I think they're going to beat up on each other.
Right. Okay.
So I'll go with Fajardo.
Defense. Who?
Moncrief.
I'll go Sankey.
Yeah, it's good.
Man, do we believe in the Riders? I don't know.
That's the scary part.
Special teams. You know what? Before last week, I would have said Mario Alford, and I still think he has the potential to be one of the most electrifying players in the CFL. I know he's a bit banged up, so I'll still say it anyway.
Yeah.
Or Tyson Philpott, his replacement.
Yeah.
Rookie and special teams.
Yeah, I don't want to pick a kicker or a punter just because that's such a crapshoot. I don't want to pick Jamal Morrow and sound like an absolute homer. Right now it's Alford if he plays like he did last year. Unless Lucky Whitehead goes off again. Which, with his speed.
Grey Cup.
Winnipeg, Toronto.
Whoa.
Winnipeg wins in Regina.
Calgary, Toronto. All of a sudden, we didn't believe our team.
Hey, no. We believe in them in the regular season. These are all regular season awards, Travis.
Calgary wins the Grey Cup in Regina.
Man, do we hate Rider fans. Let's say Saskatchewan finishes first.
Yeah.
Does Craig get Coach of the Year? Or does that go to Dinwiddie if Toronto wins the East again?
Oh, after week 1 and Rick Campbell's the Coach of the Year.
Wow. Yeah.
Hey, does Nathan Rourke coach?
If you had the awards right now, you'd give BC the Grey Cup too.
Does Nathan Rourke coach?
Oh,
he's not old enough to be an old Reggie Dunlop. Yeah. Coach of the Year, Dave Dickinson. There you go. We're a part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Talk to you Monday after week 2.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.